Well, bakers, I am embracing fall, and today I'm going to show you how to make apple pie crescent rolls. They are so delicious. You're going to learn how to make crescent rolls from scratch in this video, so get ready. It's a really good one. How to make the dough is really simple, but there's a few steps to it, and I'm going to walk you through it. In a nice big bowl, we have some all-purpose flour. Into this, we're going to add in some salt and a little bit of baking powder. There is not yeast in this dough, there is baking powder. Now this is one of the big factors, what's a crescent roll compared to a croissant? Both laminated doughs, but one is risen with yeast and the other is risen with baking powder. So just mix those ingredients together. Into this, we are going to add in some yogurt. Now yogurt really tenderizes and makes it a lovely soft dough. I will tell you, I'm using just plain, whole fat yogurt here. The one thing I want to warn you is that yogurt in every single country is different. It's different texture and different consistency. So start by adding in around 3/4 of your plain yogurt, not Greek yogurt, because that's a thicker consistency. And then just mix your dough together. This dough is supposed to be sticky. It is a soft dough, but if you hold back a bit of your yogurt, you can control the texture a little bit better, and it will make your life easier in the long run. I'm going to go in with my hands and then just bring the dough together. There we go. I did end up using all of my yogurt to get this kind of a dough. It comes together in one ball and it cleans the bowl. So this is what we're going for. Just going to bring that dough together a little bit on the countertop. Flour your countertop. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to roll out this dough 8 by 12. Don't be afraid to flour the top of the dough and your rolling pin. So we're just going for the best kind of rectangle you can get. At any point, if you need to flour your surface again, please do so. With your hand, just shape it into that rectangle that you're going for. This will make your life so much easier later. And I know that you all have a ruler now at this stage because I told you to get one in the pound shop. Lovely. The butter that I have allocated for you in the recipe, and the written recipes on biggerbolderbaking.com, we're going to take 1/3 of this and spread it. You can do pastry brush or a knife or whatever you like. Just spread it over the dough. Don't go to the very, very edge, just almost to the edge. Lovely. This is actually really quite fast. Now, letter fold. 1/3 of the way like a letter. Use your hands to line it up. Lovely jubbly. Other letter like this. Okay, fold it over. This is what we call a book fold. Letter fold. Getting old school now. Okay, lovely. Perfect. We are going to wrap it up nice and tight in cling wrap so the air doesn't get added in the fridge. And then we're going to pop it into the fridge a minimum of 30 minutes. You can leave it in there for a few hours, minimum of 30 minutes. We want the dough to firm up. We want that butter to set and get nice and hard. Then we're going to repeat the same thing we just did 2 more times. Once you get into the swing of it, it's actually really easy. Here is our chilled dough, generously floured top and bottom. Face the dough where the openings of the dough are facing away from you. This is when you're doing a laminated dough, this is very important because right now we're building structure like this. If you start to roll it willy-nilly in different ways, then you end up with all this craziness and you don't get those lovely layers that we're looking for. And we are rolling it 8 by 12. Back to our butter, we are going to take another 1/3, leaving us with 1/3 left for our last fold. Spread that over the surface. Make sure you have that butter sitting out before you go to use it because it needs to be spreadable. So outside of America, you might not have heard what a crescent roll is. It is this lovely buttery, it's closer to a bread than it is a pastry. And you have it for Thanksgiving, you have it for Sunday lunches, things like that. Loads of butter, loads of flavor, really delicious. Then we're going to do our letter fold again, wrap it back up, back into the fridge for another 30 minutes at least. Okay, one last time. Flour, roll the remaining butter, and letter fold. Wrap him up one last time. Now we're going to place this into the fridge for 1 full hour minimum. You can even leave it overnight and actually up to 2 days in the fridge until you're ready to use it. It also can freeze, but I prefer to use it fresh. Before you want to assemble your crescent rolls, it's the perfect time to make your filling. So we have some Granny Smith apples here, and you just want to peel and chop them really small. Now, the reason I'm using Granny Smith is because that they have a nice amount of natural sweetness and they hold their shape while baking. You do not want an apple that is going to be very mushy and fall apart. So a Granny Smith or something kind of firm is perfect. So you need to chop them really small. I'll tell you why. Because we need to have a tight, small mix that goes into filling our crescent roll. And they need to be small for that reason, but then also, if they are too big, they won't cook in the amount of time it takes to bake the crescent roll, which isn't very long. So nice and small will cover those two things. Once chopped, pop them into your bowl and add in some brown sugar, a little bit of cinnamon, and a little bit of freshly squeezed lemon juice. And then give that mixture a stir. Okay, that is simple. Smells just like apple pie filling. I'm gonna set this over to the side, clean up, and let's go get our dough to assemble our crescent rolls. So our dough is ready. It has gone through all the stages. There's one last thing we have to do, and it's assemble them. So here's what I'm going to do. Generously flour your countertop. You'll know at this stage now by working at this dough, it is a soft dough. It's the nature of it with all that yogurt. Be generous with your flour. Will just make your life so much easier. So place your dough down like this, kind of facing away from you with the edges here. So now you want to roll this out to 10 by 18 inches. If you need more flour at any stage, on top or on bottom, on your rolling pin, don't be afraid to use it. We're going to take a pizza cutter because it just makes your life easier when making these. Go lengthways down the middle, just like that. Now we are going to cut it other way down the middle to get 4 sections. Now we're going to cut each of those sections in half. So now we have 8 squares altogether. Okay, now we're going to cut those diagonally. So just go from a corner to a corner, right to each tip. You're going to end up with 16 altogether. Now they can start to spring back a little bit and lose their shape, and the edges might look a little bit gnarly and not as triangle-y, but don't worry, we can kind of pull them and stretch them and they'll be grand. Okay, so we have our triangles. I want to say thank you to Ami from behind the scenes who is helping me. I get so stressed out when I have to do something like this. So shape it out into a bit of a triangle. Then here we have some apricot jam. You can also use like a peach jam, whatever you like. Now, we're going to take a tablespoon of our filling, like so. Then we are going to pull the edges, tuck them in, roll it over, and then just like that, we have our crescent roll. Once it's assembled, onto our tray, and then just keep on going with the rest. I would say just move kind of swiftly because the butter, you know, wants to remain cold to get all those lovely layers and everything. Pull it to make your triangle, bring in your edges, roll it up like a croissant. And then just a reminder, see this little tip on the end, just like I said with a croissant, just roll it over on that tip. If you don't do that, it can kind of unravel in the oven. So just keep that down there. Lovely. This is a really fun recipe to do with kids. So the beauty of this dough is not actually just for sweet, but it can also be used for savory. And I've even made little pigs in a blanket with George with these, and they are so delicious. People often buy the tubed biscuits in the supermarket, but just imagine making pigs in a blanket with this, like just amazing. You can also make little pizza rolls, put tomato, mozzarella, mustard, cheese. Man, I'm just full of good ideas. And then you can do different sweet. You can do cinnamon, sugar ones, whatever takes your fancy. And that's our last one. Fantastic. The last thing we want to do before we put them into the oven is give them a generous egg wash. And the reason I say generous is I mean like get it all over, because we want them to come out a lovely sparkling golden brown. And egg wash really helps with that. Get all those nooks and crannies, especially the crannies. You'll see with these guys, unlike a traditional crescent roll, they don't have that crescent shape as much because we stuffed them and we rolled them. So they're just a little bit different. They're a little bit rounder, but the pastry and everything is still the same. So now to make your life really easy, you can actually assemble them, even egg wash them to this point, put them in the fridge overnight, cover them up, bake them off fresh the next morning. You don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to start to do these. It makes your life so much easier. That's what I love to do. I'm not doing that right now. I want to bake them off because I can't wait to try some. So follow me over to the oven. Let's get them in there. Bake your crescent rolls at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius for roughly 30 to 35 minutes until they're a lovely golden brown all over and they're kind of bubbly. Our timer went off and these look beautiful. They're lovely golden brown. I can see some layers of buttery pastry there. We did a great job. I smell butter, I smell cinnamon, I smell apples. What more could you want? I'm gonna let those cool down a few minutes, and while they're doing that, I'm gonna make a little glaze to go over them. So I recommend doing this when they come out of the oven, because when the icing hits the crescent rolls when they're warm, it kind of sets and creates a little bit of a icing shell. These little crescent rolls made from scratch are buttery little pillows full of apple pie filling. When you bite into these guys, you will reap the rewards of all that rolling and folding. It will all be a distant memory and all you will think of is buttery pastry. If I've got you in the fall baking mood, then stick around. I have hundreds of videos for you to check out. I'll see you back here again, same time, same place with a brand new video.